Yo, happy holidays. We're getting into the freaking holiday spirit here. And what better way to celebrate than with some new Limbus news? Hello everyone, welcome back to your favorite Limbus one-man Limbus company podcaster. Here to bring you the news, of course. As you know, I did not record a video for the Mirror Dungeon announcement and the Roja Ego. I'm aware they exist. Haven't played Mirror Dungeon yet. It's been hotfixed about 3 different times. Still haven't touched it. Maybe I'll touch it in the near future on stream. But we're gonna move past all that for now. We got 2 new IDs. Cinq Association is getting Sinclair and Outis. And then we're also, of course, getting the Mirror Dungeon 3H. Can't freaking wait for Mirror Dungeon 3H. That's like... I mean, hopefully it's as hard as the second one, so that it's actually a little bit fun, instead of just auto brain dead, you know, the usual. And then patch notes, of course. But we'll get there when we get there. You're here for the IDs, of course, so we'll start here. We have 2, again. Cinq South Section 4. Director Sinclair is the 3-star. And then you have, Cinq South Section 4 Outis is the 2-star. If we're moving in the same direction as Don, then these are going to be good at clashing, fair at damage, good at speed control, is the hope, of course. Generally just very effective. Hopefully, again, in Mirror Dungeon 3 Hard, their clashing values will be very good, but we'll have to see. Of course. So we have Cinq 4 Director Sinclair, of course, again. He's got all Pierce, as expected. He uses, what is it, a rapier or a foil or something? I don't exactly know what weapon they use in fencing. I'm pretty sure it's a rapier, or something. So we'll see what happens. He's got pretty decent Sin generation. Standard for Cinq Association, I'm pretty sure. This is like all they do is Gluttony, Pride, and Lust, so sure, makes sense. And 3 coins on skill 2 and 3, which is kind of spicy. Usually, I say usually, we have 1 other ID to compare to, but Dawn only has 2 coins on all of her skills, so this is a new one for sure. So we have skill 1 is Remiss. If this unit speed is higher than the targets by X or more, gain coin power. That's pretty normal. Poise count, and then on hit gain haste twice. I mean, that's pretty standard. I don't remember if Dawn gains poise. I think she does, doesn't she? I'm pretty sure she does. It would not really make sense if she didn't. So, yeah, that's pretty normal. I'm pretty sure on Dawn's thing, it's like... if this unit has X amount of haste or something, I don't remember if it's specifically speed is higher than the targets, but whatever. I don't remember. I don't use that ID very much. She's fun, but she's not like that good compared to W Dawn, obviously, the meta queen. So I don't personally have much experience using her. So you guys will be more educated than I will on her kit. I know generally how it works. And then skill 2 is engagement. If this unit speed is higher than the targets, gain X coin power for every Y speed difference. Again, pretty straightforward. He can gain multiple coin power depending on how much faster he is than the enemy, which is cool. We'll see how much that ends up mattering once we release his speed values. But Clash Win gain poise count, and then on hit gain poise count again. He's just getting a lot of count, looks like. Sure. Where's the... waiting for the potency? Maybe it's on his skill 3. Maybe it's on passive. Contra-attack. Counter-attack. I don't know. I don't speak French. I'm sorry. If this unit speed is higher than the targets, gain X coin power for every Y speed difference. Makes sense. Gain... on Clash Win, consume X poise count. Gain poise equal to poise count consumed. Okay. So he kind of flips it. He gains a lot of poise count, and then on Clash Win, he turns a certain amount of poise count into poise potency. So he flips it around. That seems pretty promising, because it helps prevent the situation where you have to manage poise potency and count at the same time. because I'm assuming his skill 3 is going to be his biggest skill, so you only really have to manage count on him, it looks like, and then he just turns his count into potency automatically, so that's really good. It kind of gets around the fact that poise count is a pain in the ass to keep going. Gain poise equal to poise count consumed. Against targets with declared duel Sinclair, gain poise count equal to poise count consumed times something instead. So he gains more poise if he has a duel on someone already. Clash Wind, if this unit's conducted a single combat with the target's attack skill slot, inflict fragile on hit. Fragile is always promising. On hit, inflict declared duel. And then X% damage on crit. Okay, I mean that's pretty. We'll read these first before moving on because I feel like these are contextually pretty important, probably. Single combat, established when the target slot is targeted by this unit and no other unit. Established only when they clash. Okay. So the way that it works is Clash Win, it inflicts fragile if it conducted a single combat. So that means that only Sinclair will be able to benefit off of the fragile, because he won't inflict fragile if anyone else is targeting the slot. So it's like way worse than it seems. It seems like. I mean, okay. And then Declared Duel, I imagine, is the same. In a clash between the unit that inflicted Declared Duel and the unit with the status, the Declarer gains Clash Power. On hit, Declarer gains Haste. That's all the same. Expires when this unit inflicts Declared Duel on a different target. Replaced when another unit inflicts Declared Duel on the same target. So, okay, I understand. If you want to run multiple of the Cinq Association, they have to 1v1 different parts of an Abno. Or, like, different enemies. But I'm thinking, like, 1v1 different parts of an Abno. So, like, let's say you're against Ichthys or something. And I'm assuming Outis is going to work similarly. And you have Outis, Sinclair, and Don in the same team. You would have, like, Sinclair on, like, body, for example. And then Outis on left fin and Don on right fin or something. So they could all have their own Declared Duel on a separate part. Which is interesting. That's actually kind of sick. I kind of do like that. Defense skills and evade with no effect. Been a while since we've had a 3-star with a defense skill that has no effect on it. Not entirely unwelcome. Would have liked to see it give haste, but I mean, whatever. Or poise. Who cares? Turn end, gain max speed next turn for every poise count. That's pretty good. It's kind of like Rhino's thing, where he has charge, giving him max speed. Of course, I'd rather have haste than max speed. Because max speed is kind of cringe. But it's definitely appreciated. It's better than nothing. Obviously, it's just worse haste, but if you get a little bit lucky, you know, it increases your average roll, so it's better than nothing. And I'm assuming he's going to be able to get multiple triggers of this. Like, I'm assuming it goes up to, like, +3 or something, maybe, for poise count. And he gains a lot of poise count, looks like, so that's fine. If speed of all allies is higher than speed of all enemies, gain pierce damage up. That's not hard to accomplish, to be honest. Especially against a single boss, you just inflict some bind on them. And it's free. You don't have to worry about inflicting or gaining haste on all of your allies. You can just bind the boss, and it's usually pretty good. Or Crow's Eye View, for example, like, you know, 3 Sloth and 1 Wrath gives you basically guaranteed outspeed on every single teammate against the boss, which is also really effective. So this is very easy to accomplish. That's pretty good. And then support passive is too slow. You're too slow. Fastest ally on evade gains haste next turn. That's pretty good, especially for solos. Like, if you're soloing or doing, like, minimalist setup, this is potentially really, really strong. You just, obviously if you're soloing, you just do 1 or 2 defense skills. Usually it's just 1 if it's an evade, because it gets recycled. And you can just use it over and over again. That's pretty solid, for a support passive, to be honest. It's, like, really good. So, overall, we're talking, like, probably gonna be solid clashing. 3 coins on skill 2 and 3 is probably solid damage. And the Cinq IDs are actually fun to use. I know, crazy coming from me, and I only play meta, but yeah, I'm gonna meet you in the middle here. I actually think they're fun. And by they, I mean obviously only Don But she is fun to use. So, you know, there's that. I do actually think his kit's really, really solid. I'm looking especially at the fact that he kind of quote-unquote fixes the problem with poise, and that's the count, like being annoying as hell to upkeep. He manages his own poise pretty well, it looks like, which is nice. Obviously, the main caveat is, like, the Cinq IDs, generally, it seems like they want to speed control and then outclash. I'm not, like, holding out much hope for their damage potential compared to the meta IDs, but in terms of, like, general content playing the game, he's probably going to be extremely solid because their gimmicks are just very desirable in general gameplay. When I'm talking, like, high speed, right? High, like, medium to high coin numbers, and then good clashing values, right? And then consistent clashing, right? Like, you know, because Declared Duel gives you haste and clash power, right? So it's consistent medium to high clashing, and then high speed to intercept things, which is really promising just overall in terms of, hey, I want to be able to control the fight, right? In a general sense, that's very good. And the Declared Duel, even though at first glance it seems anti-synergistic to each other, especially with single combat too, because the Declared Duel will override each other if you target the same thing. And then single combat is kind of a problem because even though he inflicts Fragile, he's the only one who can capitalize on top of it. Because if any other unit targets the same thing that he is, the Fragile won't trigger, right? So unless you're like soloing or something with him, it's not really possible to team play with the Fragile. I don't know how it works with AoEs. I'm assuming that with AoEs it would be fine, but whatever. Overall, he seems really solid, though. So, again, of course, if you're new here, we have 2 ratings for ID kits. Obviously, I don't know their numbers, right? That's like the whole fun, because it's just speculation, right? That's the fun part. But we have 2 ratings here, if you're new. The first one's general rating. How good do I think they will be in literally, like, 99% of cases? I'm talking, like, pushing story, doing Luxcavation or something, like, you know, doing Mirror Dungeon. Again, I haven't played the new Mirror Dungeon, so I can't really speak to that, so I'm going to mostly be going off of my last season's Mirror Dungeon experience, which is high clashing, pretty much. Good speed, high clashing, good bulk, whatever, you know the deal. And, generally, he seems really consistent. Really strong, you know, the usual. He seems very self-sufficient, though, which is, you know, a good trend to have, considering the uptick in poise support recently. Having self-sufficient poise IDs is always going to be a treat. So, honestly, like, generally speaking, and his Sin generation is not bad either. I don't think it exactly feels like that many of his egos, like, and by that many I mean, like, it feels Lantern, I think. I don't exactly remember what Lantern costs, but it feels Lantern because I know it's Gluttony. It does not feel Impending Day, which is like his strongest ego, but that's, I mean, it's fine, I guess. You can just use Soup or something, like, I don't know. But he does seem pretty solid outside of his fueling of egos. Just because Declared Duel as a status effect is strong, it's very strong, and he seems like he has very consistent damage. I don't know if it's going to be consistently mind-blowing damage, but it is consistent damage. The only thing that's holding him back is the fact that the Fragile can only benefit himself. That's like the main thing. But, I mean, generally speaking, he'll be very solid. I'm going to give him like, should I give him a 9 or a 10, you know? That's the real question. Do I think he'll be flawless in most situations? Generally speaking, I think he'll be the best Sinclair ID for general content. I'm getting pung on Discord, my apologies, but it's okay. That's me. Don't bug out. You can see it. But generally, I'm gonna give him a 10. I think he's fantastic. He's probably going to be Sinclair's best ID generally. Even better than N-Corp Sinclair, I think. because N-Corp Sinclair does have issues using him generally. To play him optimally, you have to pretty much just unequip like all of his egos except Impending Day, so that when he corrodes into Impending Day, which is like the most advantageous, which is a problem. And then also, you do kind of have to play around him specifically, whereas Cinq Sinclair seems to focus, like, he seems to work mostly on his own, right? So, I'm gonna be honest, like, I think he's probably a 10 out of 10. He might straight up just be the best General Sinclair ID we get. But N-Corp Sinclair is pretty tough to contend with, which is where the second rating, of course, that's what the second rating is for. The meta rating. The meta rating takes into account things you're comparing him to. Like, you know, generally speaking, I don't compare the ID to anything else generally. I just say in a vacuum, do I think the ID is good, right? But meta rating is tough, because that's when I start to go, you know, compared to the meta option, is he going to be good, right? Like, is he going to be better than N-Corp Sinclair? What are the odds he's going to be better than N-Corp Sinclair? And this is mostly talking about Railway again, because that's my main shtick. I do Railway. Welcome to the channel. I'm the meta player, sorry. But that's how I have fun. So compared to N-Corp Sinclair, do I think he's going to be better? Hell no, probably not. Just because I don't think his damage potential is going to be good enough. I mean, you already know the one who shall grip. He's fucking broken. He's like game-breakingly overpowered. Of course. I don't think that Cinq Sinclair is going to be like game-breakingly overpowered, even though his skill 3 is solid. The single combat mechanic holds him back hard. And the fact that he can't really, like, even if the other Cinq IDs were good and they had synergy with each other, they can't declare duel on the same target. So when you're trying to burst down an Abno part, they can't effectively burst down the same part. Because they override each other's declared duels. So, I mean, again, if you're just trying to win clashes and consistently not take as much damage and whatever, yeah. Okay, that's going to be pretty good, because you can declare duel on multiple different parts, and then consistently clash each one, right? But the problem is, that's not really how the game plays out, if you're trying to damage race. And N-Corp Sinclair kind of specializes in damage racing, because he just has really big buttons. And I think that's kind of going to be the difference maker. So even though I think he probably will be better generally than N-Corp Sinclair, just because he's going to be easier to use. So most, like, 99% of the player base will get more out of Cinq Sinclair probably than N-Corp Sinclair. I'm going to say meta rating is probably going to be like a 0. I see, like, pretty much no shot. There's like no shot he's going to be meta, obviously. Like, you don't need to be a genius to see that. But I think he's a 10 general rating. I think he might be better than N-Corp Sinclair because he's easier to use. He looks easier to use. He's going to be consistent because his skills are very consistent. And he supports his team in minor ways mostly, but he supports his team by pulling clashes away from other people, which is probably, I mean, that's his main job, and he's probably going to do it well, I'll say. So he seems pretty solid, to be honest. He seems really, really good. And then we move on to Outis. Part of me wishes that Outis kind of has, Outis got the 3-star and then Sinclair got the 2-star, but hey, what, it is what it is. We'll see what happens here. So again, we're all Pierce. Interesting. We got 2 coins, and then 1 coin skill 3. I mean, maybe 1 coin skill 3 rings alarm bells for some people, but I actually don't mind 1 coin skill 3 at all, because again, I'm assuming Cinq IDs are generally support units. Even though they deal damage, it's mostly about winning clashes, right? Like, it's mostly about winning clashes. And 1 coin skills, if there's one thing they're good at, it's winning clashes. I'm talking, like, obviously the big examples Mutilate, but there's also Base Outis' skill 3 and Focus, which is G-Corp Outis' skill 3. They're all 1 coin skills, and they're all very, very solid and consistent at winning clashes because they don't often drop coins. Of course, you get 1 in 20. Everyone gets 1 in 20 on Mutilate, like it just happens. But generally speaking, they're very consistent at clashing. So it does help her main job, even though it looks kind of weird. But we'll start with skill 1, of course. 2 coins. On use, gain haste next turn. This skill slot gains aggro. I do like me some aggro. Aggro is probably my favorite mechanic. If we're just talking about playing the game, aggro gives you a lot of control and freedom in every fight. I do like having aggro. And then poise, of course. And then skill 2, if this unit's speed is higher than the target's, gain coin power. On use, gain poise count, and this skill slot gains aggro. So we have 5 out of 6 skills giving us aggro, it looks like. The skill 3 doesn't. So 5 out of 6 skills give you aggro. So she'll have aggro pretty consistently, it looks like, which is nice. Gain poise count. Again, pretty normal. She's not really gaining poise potency. Just kidding. There's poise and inflict bind. Bind is nice to have all the time, so that's a nice bonus. And then gain some poise, sure. At X plus poise, gain final power. How is she gaining poise? We'll see. Clash win, gain poise equal to the number of clashes. Okay, that's fine. Inflict declared duel Outis. So yeah, they each have their own declared duel. As expected. That's pretty expected. So if you're running all 3 of these Cinq IDs, you can't really target the same thing with them. They all want to be 1v1ing, which is thematic, of course, but kind of hampers their usability in a burst situation. You know, whatever. On hit, inflict haste next turn to 2 slowest allies. That is nice, actually. Haste on 2 slowest allies is nice. And then on crit, deal bonus damage, of course. Makes sense. I'm fine with that. And then we have retreat. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to call it retreat. Apologies to all my Frenchmen. If this unit's speed is higher than the target's, gain coin power for every Y speed difference, and then on evade, gain poise. This is actually pretty promising considering she has aggro. She can selectively choose to use the evade in order to gain poise, and her evade actually gains power. So, you know, one of the most broken things is evade skills gaining extra power. That's kind of disgusting. So this is actually probably going to be a major part of her kit, if I were to say. Unfortunately, it itself does not give you aggro. That would be pretty broken if it did, but it doesn't, so whatever. You know, this is probably going to be a main part of her kit, if I were to guess. And then we have redirect. On evade, gain haste next turn, lower this unit's stagger threshold. Sure, seems pretty standard to me. Lowering the stagger threshold is nice, but I'm assuming she's probably not going to want to get hit very often anyway. So, I mean, it is nice. Obviously, stagger is the most lethal thing in the game, so it is nice to have a way to lower the stagger threshold. And then Mentor's Counsel. If the fastest ally speed is higher than the speed of all enemies, the fastest ally gains clash power. That's really solid. That has the potential to be really solid, of course. If the said ally Cinq Fixer, they deal bonus Pierce. Not necessarily looking at this. I'm assuming if you're running a Cinq team, you want to run all 3 of them, but I guess that's fine. But I'm mainly looking at this. This line is really, really solid. It's not extra damage, it's just clash power, but, you know, it is a pretty solid passive. Unfortunately, she has good competition on passives. We're talking like Blade Lineage Outis gives bonus damage, which is good. So does base Outis, but only against enemies with less than 0 sanity, so that's very niche. But the damage bonus is palpable. And then you have 7th section Director, which gives you 10% bonus damage when you're attacking weak and fatal physical resistances, which is good because when you're attacking a broken Abno part, their resistances are weak and fatal. So that gives you bonus damage. And then Molar Outis gives you bonus tremor gain for your tremor IDs, your self-tremor IDs. So her support passives have a lot of competition. I don't think that this one is really anything super special, to be honest. But it's not bad. It's not bad. I'll say generally, she seems really solid. Again, even for a 2-star, I think she's really good. Outis is current, like, quote-unquote generally good 2-stars in Mirror Dungeon 2 hard are, or they were, I guess, because it's not around anymore. But they were base Outis and G-Corp Outis because of their high consistent clashing. I say high consistent clashing as if they were like anything special. It's mostly their skill 3. But this Outis also seems to follow that trend, which is very promising because if you bring in 2 stars in Mirror Dungeon, you get extra cost or whatever, I think, in this one, you gain extra cost if you bring 2 stars, which is cool. So, I mean, she seems really solid. I don't really have much to say that hasn't been said for Sinclair already. I do really, really like the fact she has aggro. I'm gonna say probably, generally, she's sizing up to be really, really solid. I'll say like 9. Honestly, I'll say like 9. She seems really good, generally. Meta-wise, again, she has a hell of a lot of competition. She doesn't really fuel any of her egos, like, that are super relevant. The main ones are like Sunyata and, what's it called? Sunyata and Ebony Stem. She doesn't really fuel either of them particularly well. I believe her Sunyata is like Lust and Pride maybe or something. So I mean, I could take a look. But meta rating, I'm gonna say like a probably gonna be like a 1, bro. She might have a chance. I don't think she'll see meta play, but she does seem, again, Sankai IDs are very, very solid generally. Let's take a peek at let's come on, where the fuck is it? Oh my god, please. Unofficial Limbus Company wiki. Nah. Please tell me this is it. What is this, bro? Please. I cleared my... It's gone. That's why. Alright, my apologies. Whatever. You know, I don't think she feels her egos that well, but to each their own. Both of the IDs seem pretty solid, though, if I'm gonna be honest. Mirror of the Lake hard difficulty. We'll open that up, and then we have the patch notes, of course. We'll talk about Mirror Dungeon first, because that's probably what people are looking forward to. Zoom in a little bit. Intro to upcoming December 1st content. We're getting Mirror MD3H. I say MD2H by like on instinct, but it's MD3H now. Will be added to the game on the same patch. After reaching our description, play Mirror Dungeon 3 hard and earn a large amount of Battle Pass XP. Of course, normal as per usual. Enter after reaching ID level 40. Entity uptide 3+, activating all starter buffs. Yeah, hey. Good luck. Note that weekly bonus is not reset upon this update. Managers seeking to apply the weekly bonus to Mirror Dungeon hard rewards, please take care not to use their weekly bonus. Alright. So, this is actually hella important. Don't skip over this one. Usually, when there's a transition between Mirror Dungeon, the weekly bonus is reset and you can double dip, but that will not be happening, so do not waste your weekly bonus, I beg you. Thank you for listening. Battle Pass XP can be gained in large quantities, blah blah blah. This is all the same. Mirror Dungeon 3 hard rewards are the same as the rewards completing the final floor of Mirror Dungeon 2 hard. Sure. Of course, 150 plus 25 per weekly bonus. Makes sense. Hard difficulty rewards can be claimed once per week. Yep, makes sense. That's all the same. In previous Mirror Dungeons, the rewards scaled based on how many nodes you completed. However, in Mirror Dungeon 3, the rewards will be based on how many floors you've cleared. If you forfeit the Mirror Dungeon in the middle of a floor, you will receive rewards based on the last floor you completed. Okay, this is big for all the people who did every single node except for, like, the boss, the floor 5 boss on Mirror Dungeon hard. Because, I think it only gave you, like, 3 Battle Pass XP or something for doing the final boss. So, people who were playing for time efficiency, especially, or were just, you know, could not be asked to do the final boss in Mirror Dungeon 2 hard, they would just go up to the second to last node, like the shop node, and then just not do the boss, dip out. You lose, like, 3 Battle Pass XP or something for skipping the final boss. Now you can no longer do that without forfeiting an entire floor's worth of progress, so F to those people, I suppose. That's kind of a shame. I mean, I didn't do that. I always fought the final boss, but I know that, you know, sometimes it's just, you know, if it's My Four Menthes or Brazen Bull or something and you're just not feeling it, you know, there are times where I would have been more than happy to drop 3 Battle Pass XP just to skip the final boss. Because sometimes it's just, hey, you're not in the mood. Levels upon entry at the start of hard difficulty, your own ID levels will be reflected. That's all the same. Up to level 40, there are elements in the Mirror Dungeon that can raise your levels past 40. That's interesting. Mirror Dungeon 3, normal levels will be fixed. Yeah, that's normal. Unpredictable Future, that is the same. Floor 5 and combat added. Total floor counts 5, that's the same. Hard difficulty, previous story bosses and railway bosses will appear, that's the same. In hard difficulty, 2 wave encounters will appear in pre-boss fight encounters, that's slightly new. In hard difficulty, enemy floor buffs will be different from the ones found in normal difficulty. Enemy buffs will now be combinations of enemy level up and enemy power up. Is this like, again, I haven't played the normal dungeon yet, so I don't know, but like, is this in the normal dungeon? You like pick an ego gift and then it like gives it the enemy a buff and you can pick which enemy buff you want? That's kind of spicy. I like that. Higher tier the ego gift is, the more likely it is to be linked with higher level enemy level up buffs. Sure. Choosing enemy power-ups will be linked directly to, or linked randomly to ego gifts. Choosing an enemy buff with the highest possible enemy level up will allow players to obtain a second ego gift. What? Choosing an enemy buff with the highest possible enemy level up value will... Okay. I understand. Just as it is in normal difficulty, each ego gift that appears on the floor will have a random enemy buff linked to it. Okay, so apparently that is in the normal dungeon. Again, I wouldn't know, but you guys have probably played it by now, so you know. Selecting an ego gift will apply the linked enemy buff. Refusing will select a random one instead, and they will compound on each floor. Alright, I mean, I like this system more than the previous one. If you want my opinion on it. I like this system more than the one where they gain like 1 million stats every single time. At least you get the illusion of choice. Hard difficulty rewards can be collected once per week. Yup, makes sense. If you have remaining weekly bonus chances, you can apply the weekly bonuses as well. Makes sense. Once you have claimed your hard difficulty rewards, the rewards for returning will be the same as normal. That's the same. Starter buffs added. What the fuck is this, man? What am I looking at? That is a lot of starter buffs. 3 new primary buffs will be added to the game. Each primary buff will have secondary buffs linked to them. I guess that's, dude, this is looking like the freaking Path of Exile skill tree, bro. There's like so many freaking little things now. Now you can activate and deactivate. Big for players like me who don't want to have any buffs. Activating primary buffs will deactivate the linked secondary buffs. That makes sense. Once you have completed all your primary buffs, Wish of Stars option will be unlocked. Wish of Stars consumes some of your Starlight to activate special buffs during the Mirror Dungeon run. Unlike Starlight, Wish of Stars are one-time use only. Using Wish of Stars will consume Starlight with each use. Please take note. Okay. So, you can spend Starlight. Once you have all of your buffs unlocked, again, it's the primary buffs, so I guess the major nodes. Once you have all the major nodes filled out, you can spend Lunacy, instead of having to hoard it, you can spend it on, one-time run boosters, basically power-ups, I guess. Upon unlocking all certain secondary buffs, new ego gifts will be appearing in Mirror Dungeon 3. 7 of them can only obtain via fusing, and the rest at the rest stop and specific combination. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I have no idea. Like, apparently you can level up ego gifts and stuff too. I'll figure it out. Like, I'll stream it and figure it out, bro. I don't know what the hell this fusion, like, garbage is, bro. But I mean, that sounds crazy. Apparently they did like a whole overhaul on ego gifts, so now you can choose like what genre of ego gift you want and whatever. That sounds crazy. Again, I have not seen any of it, but that sounds wild. So, I mean, I'm all for more ego gifts. That's like the most fun part of Mirror Dungeon, in my opinion. So, I mean, Mirror Dungeon 3 hard, looking pretty solid. Will it be as hard as Mirror Dungeon 2? we'll see. Hopefully. But we'll see. And then we have the patch notes. Of course, this is all the gacha. Isang Sun Shower, adjusted to VoV tier, as we all know. Resource cost needed for raising will remain unchanged until December 1st. So yeah, if you have not uptie 4 or thread spun, my apologies. If you have not thread spun it to tier 4 yet, now is your time because the cost will be increasing. So, you know. Mirror Dungeon and Story Dungeon now uses less RAM. Welcome change. Improve controls and timings in certain part of the final battle in 36. I don't even remember what stage that is. Fix an issue where the effects of Mutilate, if target is 10 bleed, activate on targets not meeting the conditions as well. God forbid. Fix an issue on mobile where the camera could not be manually controlled. Okay. Support unit errors fixed. An issue where equipped support units could not be selected and deployed into battle. Okay. Okay. Support units as in, like, friend units. Like, borrowing. For some reason, when I read support units, I thought it was support passives. I was like, what the hell? No, okay, makes sense. Issue where support units ego displays a pre-selection. Yeah, okay. So they're fixing, apparently support units were bugged, now they're fixed. Sure. Issue where Enk recharge status did not immediately update after daily reset periods. Okay. Standardized extraction end period labelings to KST. Okay, I like that. Standardized ego acquisition voice line subtitles to be the color of the sin affinity corresponding to the ego. I think they were corresponding to the sinners, like sin affinity or something. So I guess now they're corresponding to the ego. I don't know. I have no idea, bro. I thought it was like that already. I don't know. Whatever. Keyword label to Tremor Burst. Descriptions of skills and passive with Tremor Burst have been modified to fit the edition. Okay. So now Tremor Burst is its own keyword. Instead of saying Burst Tremor, and then you hover over Tremor and it just describes Tremor, now Tremor Burst has its own description. Okay, fine. Fix an issue, or modified enemy buffs text in the Mirror Dungeon normal to clarify to whom do the said buffs apply. Sure. Added potency to clarify certain ego gift descriptions. Okay. EN only. Fix a typo in ego gift fiery down ++ and risk guard ++. Sure. I'm assuming those are leveled up versions of the ego gifts. Intervallo 3.5. Which one is 3.5? That's like, isn't that Hell's Chicken? I don't even remember, bro. Hey, I don't even remember. Fixed visual clarity when activating evade type defense skills. Okay. Fix an issue where enemy part markers were incorrectly labeled. Okay. Standardize the labeling of combat encounters occurring specifically as a consequence of Mirror Dungeon choice events. Okay. Corrected grammatical issues. Okay. Improve the aliasing effects of the glow fonts in mobile versions of the game. Sure. And then known issues. Post Mirror Dungeon victory screen. An issue where swapped in ID's art does not load when the swapped in ID takes MVP. Yeah, I feel like we've seen this issue for a while, but it's not really that big. An issue where the Mirror Dungeon choice result buff relief does not activate. I don't remember what that is, but okay. Fix an issue where Isang exchange time zone was not displayed in KST. Alright, no major issues as far as I can tell. So it's looking pretty solid. The most important thing obviously is Mirror Dungeon hard. That's going to be the most, the biggest thing. But overall, closing thoughts. New IDs look really solid. Again, nothing meta-defining, but not everything needs to be meta-defining in order for it to be relevant. I think these IDs are going to be excellent. Just in general gameplay, Cinq IDs are very promising because their main gimmick is clashing. And go figure, clashing happens a lot in this game. So just by virtue of clashing at high speed and speed control and aggro, I think both of these IDs are going to be very solid. And then Mirror Dungeon hard, of course, everything looks pretty solid. Haven't played normal, but we'll see. And then the patch notes are pretty standard. So we're looking pretty solid. So yeah, that's gonna be it from me, I think. You know, general news for myself. I upgraded my PC, as you may know. I saved all this random shit for the end, so that, you know, doesn't get in the way of the review. But as you may know, I upgraded my PC recently, and in doing so, my C drive got wiped. The last, like, 7 months of data got wiped, which is not really that much of a problem. You know, I had files, but most of them were saved on my external drives rather than my C drive. So, you know, the only thing I really lost was, like, images. Like, I lost a shit ton of thumbnails, but my thumbnails are, like, piss quality anyway, so it doesn't matter. They're very low effort, if I'm being honest, so those are okay. But what I did lose was the config for my OBS. So, my mic got reset again, so let me know if there's audio balancing issues and shit. And all of my OBS plugins got deleted. All my settings got deleted. So I've just spent like the last like 2 days redoing like all of my OBS and whatever. Like, oh my god, it's a fucking pain. But that's what I've been up to. So, and then of course finals and whatever. So you know the deal. But yeah, I'm working through it. Besides all that though, you know, not much else to be said. I'm pretty excited for what's going on, of course, as usual. I feel like I say this every time, but new content is always exciting, especially when it's not garbage tier, like Sloshing Ishmael, you know? As long as it's not garbage tier content, I'm all for it. But yeah, until next time, that's gonna be all. Peace out. I'll see you when I see you. Probably gonna stream, like... Probably gonna stream Mirror Dungeon, like, in the next couple days. We'll see. I don't know. But yeah, peace out. Bye.